So in that sense, that kind of frees you up as an actor when you go in,
Not
a little
fault.
bit. But
Yeah.
because you're kind of like, wow, who knows what the reasons were.
Well, if you know that, maybe that's something they should probably explain in acting programs that if they don't.
It's not going to be your fault.
Yeah, a lot of times it's not. I remember being in casting rooms where you're just going through headshots and throwing them here. Because what was the description? And you get in stock like this.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you decide?
Yeah.
And I was intern.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what do I know?
Yeah.
And you have lives in people's hands. Like, you have people's
so
lives
silly
in your
because
hands.
it's just, okay, what is it, 6 foot tall?
Right.
Like there you go by that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's kind of a silly process.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I would, even, and I think that's even more true in film and television.
Mm-hmm.
A type
you
becomes,
really,
really, what you look like, what you sound like, really becomes a major factor in casting decisions. Which is why, sometimes you watch something and you're like, how did he get this job? He's not very good. And then you realize, but he fits the specific type they're looking for.
Or his dad does the lights on the film.
Yeah, or there's some sort of, level of nepotism
that's what
going
let
on.
them change the last name.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the same family.
So frustrating.
But it's always been like that.
Always. Yep.
You wonder, who's related to it? It's like, I see, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All of it.
But to which role, if you had to pick one or two, or type of role, if you had the choice, like next play you're doing, you're playing, what would you pick?
I want to do Hedda Gabler. That's like my Hedda Gabler and Miss Julie, just classics, just incredible, tough roles. I feel like I'd be really bad at them, but I think it'd be a really cool to have those, on my resume and to get to tackle those roles.
I want to do Macbeth. Yeah, I think that's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. I don't know if I'd be any good at it.
It's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot. Yeah.
The greats.
Yeah. There's tons of Shakespeare that I'd want to do.
Well, plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
For men.
That's true.
Right. Is something that's opposite of your personality more fun to play?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think so.
I don't know. I like snarky girls. They're my favorite. I like the mean, snarky girls, which I feel like that's pretty my type.
No, is that opposite of your personality?
No.
Yeah. I don't think you're mean and I think you've got
I'm pretty mean and
everybody's
snarky.
capable of being mean and
potential
snarky.
to
Yeah,
get
but
good
I don't
stuff.
think you're a mean, snarky person. I don't think that's your type.
I think it is. Grumpy.
I think you like
Angry.
to think it is,
I don't know.
but it's not.
I think
It's
it
not.
is.
I think that's against your type.
Like a grumpy cat.
Yeah,
I'm a grumpy
like
cat.
April Ludgate from Parks and Rec. I think that's...
I mean, I don't think that's your type, but I think that you could play that. You could do that.
I like the sarcastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You're
my
capable
favorite.
of that. But I don't think it's your type.
I think it's my type.
So all the parts you actually did, which was the favorite? Or two, I don't know. Maybe more than one.
My first professional show out of college was a play called Alice in Slasherland by Qui Gwyn, which is a vampire cowboy show, which is like this like geek chic, like very stage combat heavy theater company. And yeah, I played like this little hell demon, and I had lots of like kicks and punches and fights, and there was so much blood, and it was, we actually got to do it twice. We did it upstate in New York, and then we did it in Manhattan. It was my favorite show I've ever done. I'd do it every year for the rest of my life. So much fun.
Hamlet.
Oh yeah, you did it twice.
I did it twice. Yeah. I did it once when I was way too young and should never have had any business doing it. And then I did it again this summer of my second year in grad school. I did it up in Canada with I was working illegally. with one
No
of
one
my,
in Canada listens.
yeah, with one of the grad directors at OU, and it was the end of his first year, and it was the end of my second year, and he had a little theater company up in his hometown in New Brunswick, Canada, and he asked a couple of us to come up and do some shows over the summer, and one of them was Hamlet, so he asked me to come up and play Hamlet, and that was probably it was such an amazing experience. And I remember like doing it and being like, oh yeah, that's what that meant. Like having like done it younger and then going back and doing it again, be like, oh my God, I was doing it all wrong. That's all wrong. Like that's what he meant. This is what that moment is. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. I'd do it again. I'd want to do that again. I think that's one of those roles that like every time you do it, you're discovering something new. And I think you could, and then also too, like every, at different points in your life, your life experiences have changed. So therefore you're coming to the role with a whole different set of eyes anyway,
It's probably good that you get the first one out of the way.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
There's no way
Make
to do
all the
that
mistakes
right.
there.
Oh
No.
my God.
You're
No.
barely getting through the text.
No.
Yes.
Well, and
exactly.
I don't think at any stage in your life are you ever really doing it right. I mean, I think I don't want to speak for all the great actors who've done it, but
Mel Gibson.
Oh yeah, Mel Gibson. But like,
Poor guy.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
in the middle of it, he started screaming freedom, and he was running.
It was David Tennant.
He
David
did a good
Tennant.
one. Yeah, his was good.
His Hamlet was amazing. It was
Yeah.
amazing. It was so good. But I would be curious to see, if those guys were to talk about their experience and be like, oh, there's no way I got everything. Like, how could I, been invested in every single moment, understood every single thing, I don't think you can. It's so rich that I don't know. But I won't speak for them.
There's probably no way to get. Well, there was this. I think it was David Lean, director, did Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh yeah.
He was dying of cancer, and he died a long time ago. But he had the last interview, and he was going through treatments, but he was seriously ill. And somebody asked him, he was preparing to do another film, and never got to do it. But they asked him, well, what's what are you planning? And he's like, well, I hope I'm well enough to do one more film, because I think I finally got it.
It's
true.
It's true.
Yeah, probably on your deathbed going, I think I got it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I remember that it was probably a different director, because my memory is like a goldfish.
Yeah.
It was probably
Quentin
Groucho Marx.
Tarantino.
Yeah, that's right. Man, I think I got it.
This is your life.
Yeah.
It was a funny show. So what is anything coming up? I mean, I know you're doing a show now.
Yeah, so I'm doing The Sunshine Boys at Centenary Stage Company. Runs through March 1st. Then right after that closes, we start rehearsals for Turning, which is also at Centenary Stage Company, and that runs through April. And then right after that, I'll be in performances for that, in rehearsals for Ways to Be Happy, which is a new play in Summit, New Jersey at Dreamcatcher Repertory Theater by David Lee White. It's a really silly, fun, it's like a farce, so I'd say there's bunch of crazy things happening all at once.
Well, you have a schedule that's
Yeah,
going.
she's
Last year I didn't
schedule,
book
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
This year I've got 3
That's how it
things in a
happens.
row.
So you don't, one year you don't book anything. You got nothing going on.
And
And
the
then
Plant
rains
next
and
year
seeds.
pours.
it's-
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to plant those
Yeah.
seeds and
Yeah.
pray for rain.
Yeah.
And are you working on anything?
I'm working on being the general manager of Centenary Stage Company. No, I don't have anything. I don't have anything coming up at the moment. Not for a lack of looking or trying, I guess. I mean, for a lack of trying. It's been so
Busy.
incredibly busy in here. That
New
it's-
job.
This theater is one of the busiest I've ever seen. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's 37, I think, 32 or 37 professional theater companies in New Jersey, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Being so close to New York, that there's actually that many, professionally producing theater companies. But we're actually one of, if not the only one in the state that produces year-round. Most places will take a sort of a hiatus. Their season will last for like 6 months, and then they'll take a little bit of not that they're taking a break, but they take a hiatus from producing because they're getting their next season ready. They're getting all of those things together. Because a lot of them, we produce and present. So in addition to producing shows like The Sunshine Boys and then Turning coming up later, we also present events like, well, you know all this,
January
but like,
Jazz
yeah,
Fest.
concerts and
Comedians
and dance events
yeah.
and things like that. So we almost have everything. And then we have the university element of it as well,
So
where all the college students are producing and presenting their own work. So I mean, it's like something every single weekend, year round, and we never stop. So it's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
We're the only ones that do it like that.
Yeah, I remember my first year when I was working. I looked up the schedule. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like, this is
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I think my first year we've slowed down just a hair, but if I'm remembering correctly, my first year here, which was 2014,
I was gonna say, yeah.
we had something like 26 productions throughout the year, which then equated to something like 236 like individual performances throughout the year, which is nuts. Right now I think we're at like
every
20
weekend.
productions.
It's
Yeah,
every
literally
weekend.
every single weekend. There's
something going on.
Yeah. Which is great, for the community.
Well, the alternative is that you don't do anything and you lose your funding and then it's over.
Yeah. That is always the alternative.
Now, well, you've done a bunch of plays together as well.
Yeah.
How does that work? Do you like that or you prefer
I
to not
love
do it?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I feel safe. He always knows his lines. If I don't know it, I'm like, he'll figure it out.
I do always know my
That's
lines,
happened
so.
one time. We were in a show and I was like, my line's next, but I don't remember it. And I was like, well,
What show was that?
George Washington Slept Here. I couldn't. I'm like, my line's coming up. I can't think of it. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna look at him and be like, well, I don't know, babe. And then you said your line. You looked at me like you forgot your line. You thought you forgot
I
it.
don't remember this at all.
I remember. There's something about the roof leaking.
I don't
couldn't
remember this at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just sat down and I was just like, I was like,
It's funny.
your turn. But yeah, I love working with you.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
Done like 14 projects together, I think.
Jesus, it's been that many.
Well, that's
Including
a
films,
bunch
yeah.
of them. So
Pretty sure
Yeah.
it's like 14, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
12 to 14.
I believe it. Yeah, I mean, we've done. I mean, well, through school, we did stuff together in school. Did a couple things, and then we actually worked more. I think once we got out of school,
Yeah, we
worked
only
more
got
together.
worked twice together and then summer stock we did.
Yeah,
every show
yeah.
together.
Yeah, we did a bunch of shows together.
'Cause you don't
yeah.
have a choice. You're stuck. It's like
Yeah.
bad summer camp.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I enjoy it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's a certain level of comfort that I don't think that it's just so inherent with you feel safe working with the person, so you don't judge, it sort of frees you up to kind of just play,
It's fun.
So once you do get cast and the rehearsals start,
Mm-hmm.
what do you look for? And when do you know that's going to go well? Like, what does the director do that you go like, oh, Jesus, what did I get myself into? Or is it something that happens right away that you know like, it's going to be good?
I like when the director knows what they want. I do like it. Like when they're very specific and they know what they want. I feel like that's always good versus be like, you'll figure it out. I'm like, will I?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think if I've had any like real like
I don't think I've had a
negative
bad. Yeah, I don't think I've ever had
experiences.
like a really bad one.
because
I can think of one.
Which
but
one?
I can't say it.
Why not?
You didn't mention names, but I guess if you mentioned the play, people know.
Yeah, it was an interesting Shakespeare experience I had.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, I
But-
was in that.
But
show.
it was hard because you're doing basically like a tour, and they just plug you in. So you're literally just doing the same blocking that they did.
Very little room
15
for,
years ago.
For sort of creative interpretation,
And it just-
because you're not reinventing the production.
You're
just
just getting
Did you
plugged
replace
in.
somebody? Or?
Well,
Yeah.
they just do the show every year.
Oh,
So every year they get
Yeah, they either get new cast members or
Yeah.
the same cast members return, and then there's
It's a
sort of
franchise.
yeah. So there's a sort of there's a formula to everything, and you kind of get plugged into it, which is fine for what they're for what they're doing, and but I think sometimes it becomes stifling as an actor because you're doing things or you're moving in a certain way that might not be comfortable, to your own body,
Yeah.
or you're being dictated to, I don't know, you're being encouraged to make choices that other actors have made before you that might not necessarily jive with what's going on with you.
Yeah.
So then the struggle becomes, well, then how do I justify that for myself if to me that's not how
Honest.
it's not honest
Yeah.
to me, so it becomes a little tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think any sort of experience or any rehearsal process, as long as you go in sort of understanding that it's going to be that, as long as, to me, if everybody's under the same idea that it's a collaborative experience, that then to me that's I know right now, okay, this is going to be a good, not that, and I don't mind being told what to do. In fact, sometimes I might not see what it is that a director may want, and I would rather you just tell me, than sit here and try to make me, or try to guide me to figure it out. Just tell me what you want. What do you want? What do you want me to do?
You don't have to pull it out. Just tell me.
I'll do it. I'll make it work. Like, just tell
Yeah.
me what it is. But so I can't think of the only this was a summer stock thing, and it was my first year ever doing summer stock with really, really great people that I really enjoyed being around, and was glad that I met and got to work with. But one director, who's a wonderful person, and a great director, but he was from an entirely different school of thought than what we were being trained at OU, and we were told at OU as part of the Meisner training, like, as a human being, you're interesting enough. You don't have to add anything to it. You don't have to indicate. You don't have to show us anything. Just be yourself. Be a human. That's interesting. Right? So we're like, oh yeah, okay, great. We're getting this whole thing. So then we go up and we're doing a musical, and the first note he gives to one of my classmates, this is the first year ever doing summer stock with these people, is he's like, yeah, just be more interesting. And everybody, we were all like, how could you say that? And I think that was,
because it's musical theater.
yeah, and I think at that moment I was like, oh, this is going to be a totally weird, different experience that I don't think I'm quite ready for.
What show was it?
I don't want to say.
Okay. I think I know.
It was Fiddler on the Roof.
As I thought.
Yeah. But it was great. And then then you learn that, every process is going to be different based upon, what it is that you're doing. Summer stock, you're doing, what was it?
5 days?
10 shows in 8 weeks or something like that, So you've got 8 days of rehearsal. You don't have time to mess around, You don't have time to, collaborate. You don't have time to explore and whatever. You just have time to turn out a product, and that's it. So once you get that in your mind, you're like, oh, well, then you just fake it till you make it. That's
survive.
Sort of
Survive.
Yeah, and then eventually it all settles in, whatever. But
Now, how does that change between theater? Because you have so much, well, not as much as you want time to rehearse. In film, sometimes you get nothing.
yeah.
So how does that change for you as an actor, stepping away from the stage, getting in front of a camera? It's a completely different experience.
I think it forces you to work quicker, and I think, and also to be, to work quicker, but to also be really on top of your actor's homework. The best that you can. I mean, if you're handed new pages that day, obviously, you're not gonna. You have to memorize them really, really quickly, and you're gonna have to make choices based upon that really quickly. But to do all the things that you would, making sure that, when you come to set, whatever it is that you were filming that day, you are totally off book for. I mean, so off book for it that you could recite it upside down asleep, and that you've actually gone through and you've done all your sort of actor's homework. You've defined what your actions are. You know what's going on in any given moment, and you understand, where you're coming from, where you're going, what you're supposed to be doing. so that you can just access all of that stuff really quickly, because you don't have the time to explore, like you would in a rehearsal room if you're spending 8 hours a day in a rehearsal room.
I think too with film is they cast you more for you, so you're kind of just being as honest and available as you can. I don't really think there's a whole ton of acting. At least the work that I've gotten as an indie film, it's literally just me on this day of my life or me on this day of my life. Like I haven't been given a lot of character work as an actor, because I'm not famous.
Well, but I think too, like your training gives you access to certain tools that help you to access different things quickly. So if you are, let's say you're doing you're filming a moment that calls for a certain level of emotional intensity.
Mm-hmm.
You should have the tools in your actor's toolbox to be able to access that emotion or that state of being, relatively easily, relatively.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Do you find it limiting as far as the space, if that's the right word, because you locked into a shot versus the stage, because you have a whole stage it is your medium.
Yeah.
When you get in front of the camera, there it is.
And it's really the editor who picks the scene.
Yeah, I mean they make your performance.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But I think it can feel kind of limiting, but I think in some elements it's sort of freeing in a way, because you don't have to worry about filling an entire
there's
space.
Less pressure too. You got to get it right once.
Yeah.
Well,
there's less pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think too, that there's something sort of like, there's something interesting about like, I've only got like this much space to work in. So if I'm on stage, I might fully physically embody whatever it is that moment is for me. But in the camera, I've only got this. So how do I embody that without, fully moving my head, or, weaving left or right, or like constantly raising my eyebrows or something,
Michael
what I mean?
Blinking.
Yeah, or blinking,
That's what I was told a lot. Like, can you just stop moving your head? I'm like, yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
that was my biggest. I would just move my head a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, right here.
Yeah.
It's hard.
But I don't know. I mean, I think that it's like, oh, well, here's like a little challenge I have now that I have to.
Well, that's the space itself.
Mm-hmm.
And depth of field for the focus and all that stuff you would normally not deal with in stage.
Right.
Would the physical limitation of the character be an interesting challenge? Besides the space.
Like having only so much time to really get the character?
Well,
or
either
get
that or what if you play a character that's restricted in movement or something like that?
I mean, I think it'd be hard for me, because I move a lot, and I don't know.
Well, I think it's like, I mean, it would be, in training they call that working with an impediment, when you're given a character that might have some sense of have something different about them than really yourself. So whether that's like having a some sort of restriction to their physicality where they can't, like, let's say, like, I don't know, my neck was strained so I can't like turn my head or something, or like a speech impediment or a dialect or a limp or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's sort of, as an actor, you would approach something like that if you're playing a character that's physically restricted. Is really sort of doing your homework as the actor to figure out why. What does that mean? What does that look like? How does that feel? And how does that inform sort of everything else, all the choices that I'm going to make as this character, because it's got to be filtered through that, that impediment that
Mm-hmm.
that you're creating surrounding that. It's a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
That's the fun stuff, though.
But that is the fun stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
I would say, would that be?
Mhm.
Yeah,
well,
that's
fun,
that's
because all of a
character
sudden
work.
you got to think about, like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do?
Yeah, and that's like the crux of character work. I mean, even
Yep.
something like, I think one of the things I did when we were doing impediment work in was like I think I had OCD. I had a very, I don't even remember the type, but it was a very specific type of OCD. So when you added that to the exercise that we were doing, everything that I did was filtered and informed by this, idea of having this very specific type of OCD, which, then all of a sudden that becomes really fun because you are so not yourself anymore. You
have something to focus on.
And you've got something else to
take your
focus on.
attention off yourself.
Now, what do you look for from a director? I know you said somebody who knows what they're doing, but it's sort of like a classic answer. That's with everything. I want to go to a doctor's office. I hope they know what they're doing.
Yeah, you hope. But
You would hope.
Sometimes they don't.
So what are the signs of, like, what do you look for? What would make you think, if you're working with a new person, obviously. If you're working with somebody over and over, then you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
But if you're working with somebody who just met and first day of rehearsal, and you're trying to figure out where's this going to go, what, as an actor, gives you some kind of a clue or idea?
If they have the same vocabulary as an actor. So like if they sit there and they start talking to you, like
pretend. Don't ever tell me to pretend.
Yeah. But if they start
pretend, I'm gonna do it.
Talking to you in terms of like action, what you're doing, they use sort of a lot of the key phrases that we would use in acting class. Honestly, they start talking like that, then you realize, oh, this person was either involved with that type of training. Like at OU, our M.F.A. directors, they were also in our acting classes, so they got to learn sort of the verbiage and all the language that we would use in class so that they could communicate that stuff to us in a rehearsal room. So if a director starts talking to you in terms of that kind of stuff, you realize, oh, either they have acting training themselves, so they understand sort of how to communicate with us, or that they've been in the room for those type of processes, so they know how to communicate. And then it makes it a little easier on an actor because then you know exactly what it is that they're saying and what it is that they expect. And now on the flip side of that, if they come in and they start talking in terms of like quality and particularly emotional quality and stuff like that, then immediately you know what type of person you're dealing with there, and then what that means for you as an actor. Now you've got to sort of kind of interpret and try to figure out, how am I going to get to where, because they're talking in terms of product, which is fine, but then becomes your job, and it should always be your job as an actor, but to sort of take that when they're like, okay, well, I want you more mad here.
Be sad.
And it's like, okay, well, I get what you're going for,
you should
but
be crying.
How am I going to get there, right? So, because it's more than just me yelling, so. And you just know you have to do a little detective work or something like that to just kind of figure out how to get where they want you to go.
Well, it's probably more common in theater that you get that. In film, quite often, you probably deal with people with very little acting training or background, or especially independent film. It could be like a first time.
Yeah.
So your experiences there are probably horrible. Well, I would say horrible, but not necessarily. You could be.
Yeah, I mean, the few things that I've done, they've been really great. They're usually about my age. The people that were casting and directing were all about my age, so I feel like they really respect actors, which is like really nice. And yeah, they mainly left me alone, or they'd be like, when you're ready, let us know. I'm like, well, I'm good, let's go. Like, they're very respectful, and I don't know. I did one time because I was doing a SAG commercial for a Purina cat chow, and like in the audition they're like, oh, just like walk around the room, and I was like, okay, and I walked around because they're filming my legs because she didn't have any lines. They were literally just legs, and then like handing the cat a bowl of food.
The cat had more lines,
and I literally, and I asked them, I was like, oh, can you see my Meisner training by the way I walk? And they're like, what, you're Meisner trained? And I was like, yeah, and I got the job because I talked about that in the audition room. Like, they thought it was just so funny, but they knew what it was, and they were casting a cat commercial.
Well,
so
I'm sure Cat was impressed.
The cat was apparently dating James Franco. It was the E-Trader cat.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
It had its own house.
Had its own agent and everything.
It had their Yep.
Yeah.
Must be nice. R.I.P. It's passed away since.
I think. Yeah, and I mean, my experience in film is that usually you get more like product oriented notes or direction as opposed to like process oriented, notes and direction. And I think that's just because of the speed of the medium. I'm sure if you were working on a larger budget thing that had more time and you were actually had time for rehearsals and like things like that, the director probably spends more time going through process and things like that and like, whatever. But I don't know. I haven't done it, so
yeah. That's true.
But yeah. But I think the worst for me is when I don't get any feedback, and I know that sounds really selfish, like in some ways, but like it's sort of like I just at least tell me if I'm doing because I just want to make them happy, and I want to give them what it is that they're looking for, and so I'll bring my level of thought and creativity to the whole process and whatever, but like ultimately at the end of the day, am I doing what you want? Like, are you getting the shots you need, or and that was a couple of things that I worked on where it wasn't getting, and I kept asking him, like, am I giving you what you want?
She trusts you. She trusts her actors.
Well, no, this is something else.
But,
okay.
But I was talking about Amy. Amy trusts us.
Yeah, no, Amy.
She'd be like 3 takes and done.
Yeah.
She's great.
But I was like, and I had never worked with him before, so I was just like, I was like, I don't know. Are you getting? Oh yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay.
Seem happy.
All right.
Oh.
But so that's what gets me when I'm just like, am I doing what you want?
Scary.
Now you both mentioned unions, so talking about equity for the theater,
yeah,
and SAG for
film,
film
and TV.
Do you want to quickly just describe the process of what do you have to do to get in, just in case somebody might be watching and they're like, well, how the hell do you get in?
Sure.
I know it's not a quick answer.
No,
it's well,
could be with it.
Yeah, equity. There's a couple ways to get into equity, and the fastest and way to get in, although they just changed all their rules and stuff, but the fastest way to get in, but the not surefire way to get in, is to just be offered an equity contract. So if you audition for something that has equity contracts in it, and they cast you in a role that they're using an equity contract for, they will basically, that theater company will make you equity.
They force you, which is how I became equity.
It's how I became equity too.
Yeah.
I hear I'm saying, like, this doesn't happen to anybody, and I'm like, well, we both did this, how it happened to us.
Yeah.
But
well, SAG's similar because you get a part of a few lines and they have to give you
and they give you a voucher.
Voucher. Yeah.
Or Taft-Hartley, you could get Taft-Hartley.
I've been Taft-Hartley twice.
Yeah. So, so that's the one way, is that an equity theater offers you an equity contract. Not an equity, there's no such thing as an equity theater. A theater operating under an equity contract gives you a contract. And then what they'll do is they'll basically just say to equity that we've cast this non-union actor as this, and this is an equity contract. And then equity will say, now you got to join.
And you had to pay fees.
And then you have to pay your membership dues.
And you had to pay an initiation fee, and then you have to pay dues twice a year.
Yeah. And then the other way is through what's called the Equity
EMC.
Membership Candidacy Program. And how that works is if you're cast in a show that's operating under an equity contract, but you're not given an equity contract, you're hired as a non-union, you can submit a paperwork that will document that you worked on an equity contracted performance, and you would have to accumulate 25 work weeks under the EMC program before you can then join equity. So like that would be, well, I'd be working on like 5 shows here, as a non-union member under an equity, production. It used to be 50. It used to be you'd have to work 50
it in half.
Work weeks,
Yeah.
but now they cut it in half. Yeah.
And if you're in freestanding with Actors Equity, after a year you can buy yourself into SAG because they're sister unions.
Yeah.
Or you can get a voucher from working on a SAG film, or I think TV too, and they'll just give you a voucher.
SAG
or you have to get you have to get a number of vouchers?
Three vouchers. That's like if you're doing background work and you get bumped to like feature background or whatever, you'll get vouchers on set. You need 3 of them.
And it costs like $3,000 to join SAG.
Yeah, it does. It's like $1,000 for equity, but it's like $3,000 for SAG.
I think it's like $1,200 now for equity. I think it went
maybe.
up. Mm-hmm.
You need 3 vouchers for SAG, or you can be Taft-Hartley'd into a so it would be like a SAG production where they're giving you like a SAG contract, and
because they have to cast you.
Because they have to, by SAG they have to cast a SAG member, but they wanted you for whatever reason. So then they run the paperwork through SAG and they say this was the best candidate for it. They're not SAG, but we're making them SAG, or we're making them eligible, or whatever.
But you don't have, because I've been Taft-Hartley twice, and I still haven't had to join. So I'm technically
you're
SAG
a must join
eligible.
now.
Yeah, so if I book another thing, I'll have to join.
Yeah, I'm a must join too. Yeah.
But there's so much new media contracts that.
Well, it's a mess right now.
Yeah.
They have the scales of the budgets and all that.
Yeah. So
it's
you can kind of sneak
crazy.
under the radar.
Yeah,
it's like
for a
that.
while.
Yeah, in New York they have an New York showcase, equity showcase, where they can pay you $200, use equity actors, and make you work for them for 3 months.
But they can do, what's that, what is it, SAG, oh crap, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically where they can use, they can put in the paperwork and they can use a SAG actor, but it's like the equity showcase. It doesn't, any non-union that are on it, it doesn't count towards their SAG.
I think that's new media. That's
is
the
that
new
the
media
contract?
contract.
Okay.
Because it's because the web series
stuff's
and all
coming
the YouTube stuff.
Yeah,
and
everything's all over the place. It's like, what are you gonna pay someone to do a YouTube clip? You know?
Yeah. You just do it on your cell phone. Yeah. So that's how you can get away with. So like we're must joins, but if we kept doing stuff like that, then we're under the radar. So we don't have to
skate by.
But the goal is to do something
Good.
that would make you join SAG
For
and then
a reason.
like, pay for it.
Yeah,
You'd be like, okay, well then I don't have to pay for it. Yeah, done. Great, all right, I'll join.
It's crazy.
Happy with that membership.
Yeah,
nothing to show.
Yes.
So, is this stuff that I didn't ask you that seemed important to actors and we didn't talk about?
I can't think of anything.
Besides health benefits and food bills. Was any aspect of acting that is not known to like your average
Joe Mama?
Yeah.
I'd just say it's a really tough industry. It's hard. It's not for everybody. If you can stick with it and find happiness in other things to make money, you might survive the longest.
Yeah.
If you can find a good money job that you enjoy and you can still act on the side or when you can, then I think you'll be okay. And just don't have kids.
Yeah. I think longevity is key, I think, definitely. I think the longer you stick, because what happens is more
people have kids.
All your contemporaries start dropping out of it.
It's true.
So
that's why
then it becomes
it's the last man standing.
Yeah,
it
basically.
Is. That's why I'm like, if I'm still doing this at 30, I'm okay.
I think too. There's a certain it's obviously you got to pay the bills and you got to do all that stuff. So you need to have some sort of job that's gonna cover those things when you're in between acting gigs or you don't book anything within a year through a full year. You need to have something there to support you. But I think really sort of the key to it is to be able to create your own work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think ultimately that's a lot of my peers and stuff, people that I went to school with and things like that, I'm seeing them, the ones who are sustaining and the ones who are constantly active are the ones who are sort of out there creating their own work, or they've not just created their own work, but they've integrated themselves into theater companies where now they are also working members of those theater companies in one capacity or the other. So because of that, they are people within the larger industry, and that's sustaining. And then they still act and stuff, but they're writing their own stuff, they're directing their own stuff, they're working for theater companies,
they're ushering, they're getting out there, they're meeting people, they're
creating
hustling.
their own media. So that's, I think, is just is to never stop doing something creative.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's you might be,
Writing stand-up.
yeah, writing something or
Yep.
or getting a bunch of, because everybody in the industry's friends, like getting,
Yep.
a bunch of your filmmaker friends together and going out and shooting your own thing, or a bunch of your actor friends together and sitting down and doing a play reading or
Mhm.
producing something. Or that's really, to me, I think, where the people who, because like the A-list celebrities and all that, that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
But the people who are actors and who are still thriving within the industry, it's because they're constantly pursuing work, whether it's their own or whatever. But I don't think anybody should feel like they have to validate themselves to be creative. I feel like oftentimes that's what happens to actors, is because you go out on auditions all the time and you're constantly searching for approval. You feel like you're not worth anything if you're not validating yourself to somebody else. And
Nope.
fuck that nonsense.
You're an actor. Just
Do-
because you're not
do it
working
yourself.
doesn't mean you're not an actor. You're always working.
All right, I'm off my high horse. I do that a lot. Just tell me to shut up. It's fine.
It was a pony.
It was fun. It was just a
Pony.
little. It was a little Shetland pony. Yeah.
That's right.
Little Sebastian.
So
Do you have
nothing
anything?
else come up? No.
No, I don't think so.
Any other words of wisdom for the young people
Oh,
looking for
God.
the acting profession?
I just say get training.
Yeah.
Go to, it doesn't have to be college, but get training.
Good training.
Good training. Yeah.
From reputable people.
People who've studied under the greats is what I would say.
Well, by now you have 4 or 5 trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
branched off,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Adler, Strasbourg,
Just do your
Meisner,
research and find
Hagen.
out what
Yeah.
Mhm.
appealing to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what actors you inspire you, and look at what their, training was.
And read a lot.
Yeah.
And
Go see shows.
Yeah, go see shows.
Go watch
read.
movies. Watch HBO. There's so much content out there that's
Yeah.
good. Good writing. It's just good.
Read a lot of plays.
Mm-hmm.
And not just plays, but read about acting technique, read about the greats, the great actors, and
The
find what
history
works
of the
for you.
medium.
Yeah, the history of the medium.
Yeah.
And ultimately find what works for you in terms of training. That's I think we got we lucked out in the sense that sort of the Meisner training was it hit for us. It didn't hit for everybody in my studio either.
No.
Like the people that my classmates, not all of them really got into the they got into it because they had to, but they didn't really kind of
Click.
I don't want to say click, but they just whatever. There were there's other techniques out there that
Well, it's
sometimes
not the
work for
same approach.
better.
You got to
Yeah.
find one that works.
That's
if
right,
it makes
yeah.
sense to you.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
If it doesn't make sense, you can't force that.
Right.
No, it's just
exactly.
going to make
Look
it
for it.
worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I would if you're gonna do it, do it. That's what I would say. If you're gonna do it, absolutely do it. If you can do something else, do something else. But
Yep.
that doesn't mean if you want to do it, I would say do it. Just
Worth a
try.
shot.
It's worth a shot because you don't want to turn around
And regret.
20 years later
just-
down the road and regret the fact
And
that
just
you at
because
least
you
never tried.
stop now doesn't mean you're not going to do it when you're 55
Yeah.
and become
There's so many
Great
successful,
who didn't.
they didn't start till late in life.
Yeah, there's plenty who did
Mhm.
nothing for years and now are on Broadway. It happens.
Yeah.
Many roads to Mecca.
Well, fine words to end the
And on that note,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was fun.
Maybe we'll do it again
When we're
something
super
else comes up.
famous.
Yeah.
When I book my Broadway show.
I'll be less